Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It is 4:32, and we will begin our committee meetings for the afternoon. We're going to start with public comment. Okay. I could do it real fast. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Before we begin, I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling public comments. The public comment portion of our meeting is available to members of the public according to the following. At regular board meetings, the board shall permit public comment regardless of whether the topic is an item on the agenda posted with notice of the meeting. At all other board meetings, public comment shall be limited to items on the agenda posted with notice of the meeting. Anyone who would like to speak during public comment must sign in prior to the start of the meeting and list the topics they want to discuss. An individual's public comments to the board shall not exceed 5 minutes per meeting. Please keep your comments or criticisms civil and courteous. Please avoid using profanity and refrain from making personal attacks on others during your opportunity to speak. We ask that you do not discuss students who are not your own children. In addition, the participating individual shall adhere to the following. State their full name and what organization or group, if any, is being represented. Indicate the topic about which they wish to speak. Shall refrain from commenting directly on any individual employee or public official by name, but may refer to a specific employment area, job title, or the board as a whole. And shall refrain from attacks on individuals. Lastly, if after at least one warning from the presiding officer, any individual continues to disrupt the meeting by his or her words or actions, the presiding officer may request assistance from law enforcement officials to have the individual removed from the meeting. If a speaker is seeking board resolution of a specific complaint, that concern should be addressed through the district grievance process. District policy DGBA has been established for addressing employee complaints. Policy F&G is the avenue for filing parent complaints, and policy GF addresses community member complaints. Grievance forms can be obtained at any campus administration office or at the district central administration offices. Thank you, and our first speaker is Ms. Mary Maney.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board President, board members, and community and faculty. Today on the agenda for the curriculum committee, we have the TIA handbook, which thankfully we've been we just did some training on, for those of us that are continuing on, to help clarify some of the new changes coming in. But we do have a concern, and in this case, because I do work at the high school, this is a concern from several of the teachers who are the CTE, the fine arts, the community ones, the ones that are going to be not on this year's, but in next year's capture data. For like there's some training that's being scheduled on January 4th, which is a work day for us. And that is the end of our semester, so we are working hard on making sure all of our seniors are graduating and working on grades and fixing that. So there was some concern about if there was a possibility that it could possibly rescheduled so that those of the teachers who are trying to work and need that time to do what they've got to get fixed can use it rather than the all-day PD on how to write a SLO and how to do a portfolio. That was one of the things. The other thing is on the school calendar, thank you for the option of begin having a mini fall and a mini February break, because we don't like giving up that Super Bowl Monday at all. At all. Okay. So we really do appreciate that being one of the options. So I'm hoping everybody had voted for option B so that we get that extra thing. And just as another thing, thank you for what you're doing to make it a little bit easier on us as far as getting a bonus this time. Thank you very much. And the fact that we got the turkey, the ham for Thanksgiving, we do appreciate all that you guys are doing to make it easier on not just the teachers, but the staff and that also. So thank you very much. And again, hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season and we get more good news coming up, like maybe an end of year bonus. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maney. The next item on our agenda is going to be the presentation by Ms. Marlene Araiza and Kathy Abrigo on the Teacher Incentive Allotment Handbook. It'll be Ms. Cornett.
Good afternoon. The TIA team is currently, as Ms. Maney mentioned, doing trainings for teachers on the TIA handbook. And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of go over. The main thing we wanted to discuss and share is the timeline. There seems to be a little bit of confusion as to when our data capture year is, when we report information to TEA, when we find out, when the teachers find out, and when the payment is made. And so we thought that if we created a nice visual, it would make things a lot easier and much more transparent for everyone. So 24-25 data capture year was August through May. October of 25, teacher data is submitted to TEA for review. That's the following year. In February, TEA notifies the district if the data is accepted and approved. In February, as soon as we find out, SBCASD will notify qualifying teacher groups that they received a designation. In April, TEA releases their new designation funding based on campus student economic demographics. So just for clear, a teacher who gets an exemplar or master teacher rating at one campus within the same district is not going to get the same allotment. So for instance, if we have a campus like Ed Downs, that teacher's allotment is going to be a little bit smaller than maybe a high needs campus like Frank Roberts. That teacher there with the same rating is probably going to get a little bit more based on campus needs. In May, we'll have our TIA celebration. In June, generally, that's when we go ahead and do the teacher payout before the end of the year. And these are the categories that we had for that data capture year. We had category 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the team separated these grade levels and contents by the assessment that's being utilized. So in category 1, we're using circle assessment. Category 2 is NWA map. Category 3 is star transition tables, and category 4 are Exploros. Moving forward for this year, we'll have data capture year again for this school year, 25-26, and we're going to follow the same sequence all the way through. And then these are all our categories for data capture for this school year. So as you can see, several more. We had 4 last year. This year we have a total of 7 categories. Those are all the teachers that are being added to our data capture year for this school year. In April, so currently we are doing trainings for all PE, CTE, fine arts, and elective teachers. All of these teachers, and what we're doing is we're providing a lot of training for administrators and these teachers. Their data capture year will be next year. This is what's being submitted into our plan in April for TEA approval. But we want to make sure that all of these teachers, have all the information that they need so that they don't run into any obstacles when we're doing data capture next year. We want to front load all this information for them so that they have plenty of time to know exactly what's going to be expected of them for next year. Any questions on that? Okay, so that's that. And then you'll see that we do have the handbook that's much more detailed, but I just wanted to kind of go over the timeline.
All right, and then our next agenda item is the review and discussion of the school calendar for the 26-27 school year.
Okay, so we had we presented in October. We're trying to get, last year our calendar didn't get approved until I believe April. We want to, get this calendar approved as soon as possible because that helps us get all of our, get everything situated for the upcoming school year. We want to be ahead of the game. And so what we did is we went ahead and the SAC committee presented in October, wanted feedback from the committees based on the current school calendar that we have. And based on that information, two draft calendars were created. We presented them to the SAC committee in November. And so these were presented to SAC again for preliminary feedback. So we had two options. We had an option A that had one full fall break, and option B that had the two mini breaks, one in the fall in October and the one in February. Based on their feedback again, went back, cleaned it up, and sent out the email for all district staff to go ahead and vote. We had 685 responses. We had 685 responses, and if my memory serves correctly, we had 81% of our staff, or maybe a little bit more, choose calendar B. So calendar B, which is the calendar with two small mini breaks, one in October and one in February, is the one that we are presenting to the board for approval. This calendar does meet our minimum requirements. It does have the 75,600 instructional minutes. It has a minimum of 175 instructional days, which is what we're needing if we get our grant for ADSE. And it also has a minimum requirement of 187 calendar days for teachers. On this calendar, so I went down, okay, 685 responses. It does have 4 exchange days. Last year's calendar had 3 exchange days. This one has 4 exchange days to make sure that we meet those 187 days for teachers. What we are doing, we're proposing to do, is have 3 district exchange days. We will provide training options during the summer. Ms. Araiza is working on getting feedback from teachers and administrators to start working on that schedule of options for the summer. And we're gonna do 1 day where we're gonna leave it at the campus discretion. We're gonna have requirements for that day, but because we do recognize that each one of our campuses has different needs, we're gonna use one of those exchange days for a campus, and we'll tell them, like, we're gonna give them the timeline, we're gonna give them some parameters, but it'll be at the campus discretion to go ahead and fulfill that.
Ms. Cornett, I have 2 questions. My first question is regarding the amount of responses that we received. Do you see that number going up, or has it kind of been around the same?
Actually, last year, I went back and looked at my last year we had 612 responses, and this year we had 685, so it's a little bit more.
Okay.
Just note, I did have a couple of people who were trying to use, so this is specifically, last year we did 2. We did community feedback and we did staff feedback. Because the calendar was very similar, we just did staff feedback this year. So to make sure that we're just getting feedback from staff members, they do have to be logged into their SBCISD account to be able to vote.
And then on the exchange days, I did have some concerns this year that some of the non-classroom teachers weren't allowed to participate in the exchange days.
Yeah, the 187 calendar day is for teachers specifically. And so those—
I meant like fine arts teachers. They should have been allowed to do the exchange days, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And what we tried to do last year is make sure that we have some of them are content specific, but we always try to include things, sessions that are open to anyone. So depth and complexity, any teacher can use those strategies, whether you're a coach, a fine arts teacher, an English teacher, a first grade teacher, or a high school teacher. So we always try to do trainings, but again, this year, to refine that process, Ms. Araiza is sending out surveys to get feedback, to see what they're looking for, so that we can have a more robust schedule of options for teachers.
Thank you. I thank you and the team, the SAC, and everybody involved in our calendars. I know it's kind of fun, but also a little stressful, but we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so this will be an agenda item. Tia will not be an agenda. Okay. Does anybody have any committee concerns? Okay, moving on, the curriculum meeting will be adjourned at 4:47 p.m. Going right into our administrative committee meeting at 4:47. There is no public comment, so we will go on to agenda item 3, review and discussion of revisions to the 2025-26 compensation plan. Ms. Echartea.
Good afternoon, everybody. The only change we have on the compensation plan is that the higher institution that we are currently using changed from 15 students to 12 students, so we're making that correction in the compensation plan for the dual enrollment. And then we had the agreement with Emerson College. We're going to go ahead and scratch that. Unfortunately, it did not work out in our favor, so we're going to scratch that from the board agenda. No, we're just not going to.
It was going to be something additional that we were going to provide, and it just...
No, it was for number 4, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it was an additional
It was
agreement.
an MOU that we had an employee that was going to use that university to get some hours, and it didn't work out for us.
Okay. So we'll scratch that from the agenda, and then
Yes,
we
ma'am.
will move agenda item 3 into the regularly scheduled board meeting.
Yes, any questions?
I asked you earlier before the meeting, but just so
Oh,
everybody
yes.
knows, everybody is wondering when the checks for the...
So it's going to be an ACH.
Thank you. Okay, 4:48, the administrative committee meeting will be adjourned, and we're going straight into business and finance. Also, no public comments, and at this time, I will give the floor to Ms. Vicky Bettis for agenda items 3 through 8.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vicky Bettis, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. And this evening, I have a couple of items to share. I will make it brief, short and sweet. Do y'all want to continue without the PowerPoint, or do y'all want to wait for the PowerPoint? Okay, yes, sir, thank you. So the first item is the cash and investment balances. For that, we have in our cash accounts at First Community Bank, we have a total of $5,989,000. This is not bright enough for me. $5,989,205.96. Under investments, we have First Public Investment, Texas Class Investments, as well as Schwab Investments for a total of $70,874,959.41. Our total cash assets are, well, liquid assets are $76,864,165.37. On our comparison of revenues to budget, first we will go over the revenues. And we are, July, August, September, October, November, December. We should be at about 50% of spending and revenues. We are at 39% of the revenues. That will pick up a lot once we get to January with our tax collections. It'll catch up. And then if you go over to the expenditures, we are at 38.68% on the expenditures. So you'll see that the revenues and the expenses are lining up, so no one is going over than the other. That's a good control of the spending overall. Next, we'll go over into tax collections report. Give me 1 second. Under tax collections report, if you look at the bottom line, we are at 53.68% in comparison to 60.7% last year. It looks like it's a big difference, but we also take into account the levy. And so we have a smaller levy, so we also might be collecting more on delinquent taxes compared to one year and another. So This also will even out once the end of January comes in. So come February, you should see a very good indication within about 10% of what our total is going to be. Next up, we have check disbursements. Under general fund, accounts payable, we have 3.6 million, $3,658,197.42. Student activity, $43,689.85. Construction projects, $106,338.30. Our construction projects are starting to move a lot quicker now. We're going to see a lot more pay applications going through, so you will see significant numbers, which will coincide with our investments and cash reports. You will see a lot more fluctuations on those reports because of the payments going out. Under scholarship checks, we have 0. Payroll checks, we have $7,079,047.45. And under payroll liabilities, $1,812,702.24, for a total of checks for the month of $12,699,975.26. And donations, we have some little to big amounts here. We have 4 ASP, Fred Booth, La Encantada, Purchasing, Rangerville, Riverside, and High School. And a lot of these were for Thanksgiving and for some of our Christmas purchases. What you don't see on this list at this point is the Shop for Cops donations. We have 2 pages, and we made the cutoff. We wanted to extend the cutoff beyond this committee so that we're not accepting gifts for our students. So total right now, that one I can tell you that we are at $15,905.57. We're very proud of just how much that's going to help our students. We're looking about 1,590 students at the 1,590. Yes, I'm sorry, students that will get help on that one. And then we have number 8, budget amendments. At this time, we have 1 budget amendment. I don't have it presented up here, but we have 1 budget amendment where one of our departments is sharing their money so that our principals can go to some conferences. So it's going from function 13 and 21 into function 23.
Okay, so at this point, we'll move all of these into the regular board meeting for approval, and then we want to just continue agenda items 10 through.
Yes, ma'am. So on agenda item 9, we do not have any purchases over $50,000 this month. Under RFP and bids, we have the first 3, which is request approval of option to extend the proposal for general merchandise and services. The next one is option to extend for meals and catering services district-wide, and the option to extend professional consultant services. Those are they're just extensions of the current vendors that we have. We do take into consideration the business that we've done with them. Is it good? Is it fair? Are the prices still competitive? And they are. So that is the recommendation of administration for those 3. And then we have a proposal for the depository contract for a 2-year term in response to RFP 1125 BDC Bank Depository Contract. We have just finalized those evaluations. I don't have the total numbers nor the recommendation at this point. However, I can tell you that the banks that did enter a bid is Frost Bank, Lone Star National Bank, and First Community. And then lastly, we have a request for approval in response to an investment advisory services. So that is, if you look on the bank, the cash balances, that Schwab, they are going to be the ones that would take care of the bigger investments and do our investment reporting as well. We had 3 bid on that. That would be Deep Blue Investment Advisors, Meter Public Funds, and Hub Investment Partners. And so those The recommendation will be announced at the next regular board meeting. And then the last one we have for this evening,
So both of these will go into action agenda.
oh, excuse me?
So both agenda item 13 and 14 will go into the action agenda? Or, I guess,
Agenda
consent?
items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are recommended for
Approval.
the action items.
Okay. Then agenda item 15, review and discussion of memorandum of agreement for Region 1 ESC Information Security Office in San Luis CISD.
Yes, ma'am. As per GRB legal, all contracts, MOUs need to go to the board. And this one is a memorandum of agreement, which is just another way of saying MOU. And the total cost of this MOU or MOA, this is for technology so that it can provide resources, training for our technology department. And the total cost is $4,100 for that one. And that is also a recommendation for action item. Consent action.
Ms. Bettis, just going back to agenda item 13 and 14. 14, you said our current investment advisory services is Schwab. And then for 13, who is our current bank depository contract with?
So the current, I'll start with number 13. The current bank depository we have is First Community Bank.
Okay.
And for number 14, the investment advisory services, the name is Schwab. However, the parent company is Hub, which
Okay.
is the third one that we had in our list.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions regarding our finance committee meeting?
Thank you.
Okay, it is 4:59 and we will. Do we have a list of the for finance, all of them are going to action.
Correct.
Or consent.
Wait, consent. agenda.
They're all going to consent. Okay. And then, are there any committee concerns? Okay, it is 4:59 and we will adjourn this finance committee meeting, and all of our committee meetings are adjourned for the evening. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.